What's up, motherfuckers? It's Monday, which means it's time for Monday Night Raw review right here on the Hater channel. Welcome, cucks. Right? Now, since my last video on Wednesday, I've gotten a lot of new subscribers, but it appears that a lot of them have not appeared on my subscriber notifications. So if I miss you, you know the drill, cucks. Write down on the comments that you're a new subscriber and you want a shout out. Hell, I'm feeling pretty generous. So why don't you do that even if you want a shout out and you're not a new subscriber? There is one of you that did that, but I'm sorry, I forget who you are, but I appreciate it. And if you remind me, I'll give you a shout out again. And if you remind me, I'll remember that it was you. You know what I mean? It's one of those memory things. But we have new subscriber Jack Zero, or maybe Jaco. You know what I'm saying? Welcome, Jaco. We got a few comments from Anthony Warren, one of my frenemies here. You know what I'm saying? This guy's always got something to say, my fucks. Let's see what else we got. I mean, I think it's shit. I think it's just not it's not updating. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. It's possible that you are there as a new subscriber and it's just not letting me see it because, like, I know there's been a few notifications and it says I have 0. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying right here, motherfuckers. But if you haven't, take this opportunity to subscribe today, motherfucks. All right, let's see. Oh, here we are. I talked about Dix98. And we had Jaco and then Diablo Sports Cream, motherfucks. Diablo Sports Cream, that was when? February 6th. That was 4 days ago. So I may have mentioned him. Doesn't matter. All right, then we got another 8 of you who are unfamiliar to your boy right now. So let's correct that. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, you know what I'm saying? Hit all them icons up in this bitch. But anyways, let's get to the show, all right? There's actually a lot to talk about here. Now, the last few Raws, specifically the Raw from 2 weeks ago, the one after Royal Rumble, maybe it was colored by the fact that it was after the Rumble. That was pretty good. But this week, I did not like it very much, motherfucks. Now, let's get to it, all right? First things first, the show starts out, Rollins comes out. He's got his hair in a man bun, and he's got this jacket with, like, the poofy lapel, right? Now, I like that. I like this appearance for him. I don't know, it's different, right? It's heelish. It's Eastern European. So, I don't know, it was a step up. Now, I'm not saying that this was an amazing, wardrobe or anything like that, but it was better than usual. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was kind of nice. Man, it's fucking hot in this apartment. I don't know why. It's weird. I got my balcony open. Turned the heat down. I don't really like the heat, motherfucks. But it was pretty cold earlier, so I had to crank it up on this bitch. But anyways, Rollins comes out and he cuts like a typical Monday Night Raw opening promo. He says that he's like either happy or upset. He says something about how the fans gave him this new name, the Monday Night Messiah, which he has on a shirt. And I'm thinking to myself, nobody gave this asshole a name. You know what I'm saying? The only people that give him a name is WWE Creative through like Jerry Lawler and like fake Michael Cole. And I guess now Byron Saxton is back up in this bitch. You know what I mean? So nobody gave him this name. Like he's trying to make it seem as if it's like an organic name. It's not, motherfucker. It's not. Then he proceeds to continue his promo and says basically, like, he cuts one of those, like, I'm here to like, I'm going to create change, right? I fucking hate this, right? Every one of these cocksuckers, as a matter of fact, including Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens, both of these guys, including Rollins now, have at some point had this obsession with creating change. You know what I mean? I don't, like, no one's done that, right? No one's created change. Like, all they've done is come out there and be fat. Like Samoa Joe's like, oh, I'm not scared of Brock Lesnar. I'm tired of the same people over and over again. I'm going to create change. I'm going to become champion. Then he gets injured and he's out for like 6 months, Same thing with Owens. Oh, I'm going to create change. Does the exact same thing as Samoa Joe and every other fat guy out there. You know what I mean? Seth Rollins is no different. I mean, he ain't fat. But other than that, he's doing the same exact thing. He's like, I'm here to create change. What change, dude? You went from WWE champ or whatever, Universal champ, and last year you were in the Drew McIntyre position to now being a tag champ in this bullshit feud. And by the way, this feud is one of the worst feuds ever because, first of all, it's been so long that I forgot why they even hate each other. You know what I mean? I know that they attacked each other a couple of times, but it's not like, I thought it was going to be a feud to kind of set up this new faction that Seth Rollins is the head of. You know what I mean? All right, that would have been nice. It would have been like, okay, cool. Like, we got it now. Now you got Buddy Murphy there too. tight. Let's move on with our lives, motherfuckers. But for some reason, they keep feuding. I don't understand what the end goal here is. Like, will Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens be satisfied if they pin Seth Rollins? Just, like, let them pin you so we can move on to something else, motherfucker. I didn't like this at all, you know? But I guess this set up, like, the main event, which is an 8-man tag. Then Kevin Owens came out with Viking Raiders, and Rollins says, Kevin, you've never had a problem, like, finding partners, but you've had a problem keeping them upright. Pause, motherfucks. Pause right here for a second. All right, number one, he has had problems in the past significantly fighting partners because he was a heel. So that's that. 1. 2, all right? After this, Kevin Owens, to prove his point, he, like, pushes the Viking Raiders to show that they're sturdy. Ha ha, he he. What the fuck is that? Kevin Owens has this, like, this thing. It is the sign of the insecure, in my opinion. Here's a quick little lesson, guys. Consider this a little charisma lesson up in this piece, right? So, we all know people that when they try to make a good point, or they think they've made a good point, or more likely than not, they're unsure of themselves, if they made a good point or not, they look around the room for approval, right? This is a sign of weakness. It is a sign of lacking confidence. And Kevin Owens's promo delivery and his general, like, hey, look at me, I'm clever, is contingent upon this. I've noticed this, but today I really got it, and it really stuck with me, right? Kevin Owens, he always cuts a promo, and either he's looking for approval or he says something where the crowd is gonna, like, you know, kind of get behind him, right? Or kind of be against him if he's a heel, you know what I mean? Jericho does the same thing, except Jericho also doesn't give a rat's ass, so it works well with Jericho. Now, let's compare that, let's juxtaposition that sumbitch with how The Rock or Stone Cold deliver promos, right? The Rock doesn't give a shit about whether the fans are gonna approve what he says or whether they're not, right? Here's why. 1, he knows that they're gonna approve because he's The Rock and he's charismatic. And 2, when he does pander, not even pander to the fans, when he does engage the fans, it's through 2 ways. 1, either the delivery of catchphrases, which is a lost art, or 2, he does something along the lines of, silence Michael Cole, they are chanting his name, and everyone chants, right? So that's, he delivers it with confidence, right? He doesn't say something like, well, you're a stupid idiot, and then looks around the crowd to see, like, if they, you know, if they, like, appreciated what he just said. Kevin Owens does this a lot. And when he's not doing that, he does this other thing, right? Where, like, someone says something that they said, like, so Seth Rollins says A, right? He says, oh, your partners aren't sturdy. And then Kevin Owens tries to be clever by showing that his partners are physically sturdy, right? They're sturdy this time, right? Which doesn't really address what Seth Rollins is saying, which the underpinnings of it are, hey, Kevin Owens, you're not good at fights, basically, right? So your partners always get injured, right? You're not a team with your partners. He's like, oh, you mentioned the word sturdy. They're sturdy now. It's so fucking asinine and juvenile, and it's the primary reason why Kevin Owens, in my opinion, has never or will never be considered cool, right? This guy, like, he's wrestling cool because the neckbeards like him, but in real life, if you met someone like Kevin Owens, you'd be like, dude, you're a fucking dork. You know what I mean? You're a fucking zilch. Who is this loser, right? But enough about that. Let's get to the next thing, motherfucks. This leads to a brawl, and the good guys win the brawl, which of course means they're probably gonna lose the match. But more on that later. Becky Lynch comes out, and she doesn't cut a promo, so I'm thinking to myself, oh, thank God. You know, finally, like, Becky Lynch comes out and doesn't waste my time. Asuka comes out. I thought this match was going to happen at Super Showdown or whatever, but I guess Asuka's like, oh, fuck this shit. So they have the match tonight. The match lasted about 3 commercial breaks because I skipped this sumbitch. Eventually, Becky wins after hitting a rock bottom, right? Which, when she did like a pump handle rock bottom, it was called the manhandle slam. So maybe it's called the manhandle slam. She pins Asuka, 1, 2, 3. Shayna Baszler comes out and attacks her. Now pause once more, motherfucks. Here's the problem with this, right? If you're going to set up, like, clearly, obviously, Becky Lynch is the primary female superstar. Just like Brock Lesnar is the primary male champion, Becky Lynch is the primary female champion. So if you're going to set her up versus Shayna Baszler, which I'm not against per se. I mean, I would have preferred Shayna Baszler versus Lacey Evans myself, but, you know, it is what it is, right? If you're going to set that up, why not have Shayna Baszler win the Rumble? Now, I'm happy that Charlotte won the Rumble, but in the given the context, right? Why not have it so she wins the Rumble, which justifies her moving to Raw, right? It's like, who moved you up from NXT and slingshotted you directly into, like, you know, the #1 contendership for the #1 female title, right? all Shayna Baszler has been doing lately is losing, right? She lost to like Rhea Ripley in that whatever 4-on-4, whatever the fuck it was, the War Games match, and then she lost the title to her, right? I think Rhea Ripley is like undefeated since coming to NXT. So it's like these two bras just pretty much wrestled each other, and all of a sudden they're both in like big profile matches. I mean, fine, all right, but at least justified by having Shayna Baszler win, right? And then having Charlotte be second or something, and then Charlotte gets like, she has to go down to NXT because that's like the only match you can get. You can do it like that or something, right? Especially if you plan on having Charlotte lose to Rhea Ripley, which I'm not sure how that's going to go. That's actually kind of cool that I'm not sure, because typically it's like predictable bullshit, so, well, it is what it is. But she attacks Becky Lynch, bites her a little bit. Becky Lynch gets escorted to the back. Meanwhile, our friends Mojo Rawley and Riddick Moss are out there. Fucking primetime players come out, you know what I'm saying? Also known as Crime Time, also known as Street Profits, because every black tag team in WWE history is booked the exact same way. The exact same way, man. There are these two goofy-ass stereotypes, and I don't like it, That's like the one good thing about New Day, is that there are three black guys that aren't stereotypes. Like, that's their gimmick. That's how bad it is in the WWE. It's a gimmick to not be a stereotype, basically, right? Because they're like kind of anime nerds, you know what I mean? They're like a bunch of otakus. So, whatever, they come out and they quickly squash Mojo and Riddick Moss. Now, I knew this was going to happen only because, presumably since Riddick Moss is new, you'd give him a push. But I understand that they want Street Profits to do well. So I knew they were going to win. Then afterwards, Riddick Moss betrays Mojo Rawley, pins him with a roll up, holds him there for about 8 seconds until the referee comes into the ring. Count 1, 2, 3. Riddick Moss is the new 24/7 champ. Now, a couple of takeaways here. Number one, Riddick Moss looks like an absolute beast. All right, let's just get that out there, right? Riddick Moss would tear apart, definitely Montez Ford, but probably Angelo Dawkins as well. Not probably, almost certainly, right? Mojo Rawley, same thing. These are two big motherfucks, right? Now, I'm not, and Mojo Rawley is charismatic, and he's good on the mic. They gave him an opportunity to cut a promo a couple of weeks ago, and I was impressed considering that, considering what level of talent he is, right? So, I don't understand why they have to be jobbers. I just don't get it, someone like Riddick Moss is the perfect build for a main eventer. Now, I'm not saying push him to the main event immediately. I haven't lost my mind, motherfucks, right? But, they had Lars Sullivan before he got injured, and then it turned out he was a gay porn actor, right? Before that, he was going to be a big deal. Who knows what's going to happen to him now, right? But why would you pick someone like Lars Sullivan, who has Ezekiel Jackson written all over him, when you can have someone like Riddick Moss, right? And Ezekiel Jackson should have done better. Gene Snitsky should have done better. I'm not saying that these guys suck. Even Lars Sullivan, he's not horrible. I'm just saying, someone like Riddick Moss, he's weird looking, he's not handsome or anything like that, but he's manly, and he's broad. He's a broad dude, and he's just looks like a monster, and he's not that tall, right? Because you can't really market these 7-foot motherfuckers as mainstream guys, right? Whereas because it's not really that fun when Kane just picks up and chokeslams, Batista, right? That's not fun. But when Batista does a spine buster on Kane, that's awesome, because Batista is smaller than Kane, height-wise. So it's just this smaller guy manhandling this bigger guy. And that's what Riddick Moss has, right? Not only that, but apparently he's a legit athlete. He's a legit athlete type of guy, right? So he can do these things, and you can kind of make him a star, in my opinion. I haven't seen much of him. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the best ever, but he deserves better than to be pinned by Street Profits and then become 24/7 champ. That's how you're going to start his career. This has EC3 written all over it. You know what I mean? They already dropped the ball with that one, but at least EC3 was he's 38. So all right, fine. You know what I mean? They missed opportunity. He's still young enough to wrestle. Don't get me wrong, but he's not young enough to start being given a push. You know what I mean? Especially considering that he was a jobber for the majority of his WWE career in the past. So anyways, I did not like this either, right? This was not good at all. Then we had the MVP VIP Lounge, which I had forgotten was a thing, but apparently it's back for the first time in 10 years with his first guest, Drew McIntyre, motherfucks. Now, a couple of things here. Number one, when I was in law school, I had a roommate. She ended up dropping out of law school, so she had to move out before her lease ended, right? Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck? Who cares, right? I'll tell you who cares. So her dad had rented furniture for us, so she took that furniture out. Then, I was going to be in law school for another 2.5 years. This was my first year, right? So I had to get some relatively shitty furniture that my mom got for me, right? And it was shitty only because it had to last me only 2.5 years, right? Because I was going to come back, or I was gonna buy other furniture. What the fuck knows, right? So, like, we spent a couple $100s on some shitty furniture, right? Just to so my apartment wasn't empty, and my living room in my apartment looked exactly like the set of MVP's VIP lounge. That's what it reminded me of. This did not look like a VIP lounge, right? This was just like two couches in an L formation, right? It looked like a straight up living room, motherfucker, like a bachelor pad living room, black couches and all, right? He had a little champagne holder there for absolutely no reason, but whatever, it is what it is. Drew McIntyre comes out. MVP says, Drew, I want to be your manager, in so many words, right? And then this prompted Drew McIntyre to just kind of start talking shit about Lesnar. Now, I understand Lesnar, attacked him, I think, right? He attacked him a couple weeks ago. So, all right, fine. You know what I mean? He's justified in talking shit about Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Drew says, I don't need someone to, do my talking and thinking for me. MVP, this was refreshing. MVP stood up for himself. I really enjoyed that because MVP could have, they could have booked it so MVP takes this, pussy, cuck position where he's like, oh, it's all right, Drew. That's all right. He cheap shots him. But no, MVP was like, yo, man, don't talk to me like that. Don't turn your back on me. I'm not an ass, because Drew McIntyre says MVP just is kissing his ass. And MVP is like, yo, I've never been an ass kisser, but I am an ass kicker, right? And then at this point, Drew McIntyre cheap shots him with a Glasgow kiss, which is a headbutt, right? And then hits the Claymore after counting 1, 2, 3. Now I'm thinking to myself, all right, I get it. MVP is the heel here. He was playing a heel. He was talking shit to the crowd, but I can't help but distance myself from the fact that Drew McIntyre cheap shotted him. You know what I mean? You can't cheap shot him if you're this face, right? MVP didn't really do anything to deserve to be cheap shotted. At most he tried to manipulate Drew McIntyre by saying oh, you're not ready, but with me you can get it done, right? He hasn't if someone does that to you in real life and you headbutt them, that's insane, right? That's not the actions of a serious and good person, right? Now, I understand Drew McIntyre is pretty much trying to say that, yo, I'm not here to play games, man. Don't fuck with me, I'll headbutt you, But it just didn't come off good, I'm not really digging how they're building Drew McIntyre, Drew McIntyre shouldn't be involved in these segments, or if he is, this should be the end of that. What happened to him and Randy Orton? I mean, I know what happened. Randy Orton has other things to do now, but, there should be something to it. Like Drew McIntyre should be having matches. He should be in a program. He should have a feud in the interim, right? When Batista won the Royal Rumble the second time, he feuded with Del Rio, right? You need a feud like that, to show that Drew McIntyre is business. Someone like Randy Orton would have been perfect for that. You know what I mean? Now I don't know who it could be. Maybe a Braun Strowman. I think he's on SmackDown, but someone like that, like a Lashley. That would be a good one, But more on that later, motherfucker. We got a lot to talk about left, motherfuckers. So, anyways. After that, one thing that was cool was when Drew did the Claymore, he kicked him kind of in the chest, and MVP jumped backwards and made the couch flip over. That was a nice little touch, I thought. Next up, Angel Garza comes out with Zelina Vega. All right, I don't know how I feel about this. He was going to wrestle Cedric Alexander, and he gets attacked by Humberto Carrillo. I mean, I don't really think that him versus Humberto Carrillo is this match that anyone wants to see. To me, it's on the same level as him versus Cedric Alexander. You know what I mean? Is Humberto Carrillo better than Cedric Alexander? I mean, in my opinion, he's the exact same thing. So who the fuck cares? But to some people, I guess he might be better. I don't know. Who the fuck cares, right? So they brawl. Humberto Carrillo eventually leaves. Cedric Alexander versus Angel Garza. They have a match. Garza counters a dive and then hits the wing clipper and wins 1, 2, 3. Now, I don't know about this, man. I'm not digging this. It felt like 205 Live. I thought we were watching 205 Live for a second, What's the point, right? If all I'm going to see on Raw is what I saw 2 years ago on 205 Live, I mean, what's next, dude? Arya Daivari becomes champion? Get the fuck out of here, I did not enjoy this at all, motherfuckers. Then we had Rhea Ripley. She had a little backstage segment, which I skipped, but I did see in the segment that Sarah Logan came out, presumably to challenge her. This led to a match, and she beat Sarah Logan, obviously. Charlotte comes out, they talk, no one cared. Next, we had, this week's Who Gives a Rat's Ass match of the week. Now, normally, any match with Lashley, I would enjoy to a degree. But knowing that Ricochet would beat him made me sick to my stomach, because I understand what they're doing, right? They're trying to say that because Ricochet can pull off an upset, I guess, or whatever, he can beat Lashley, the logical conclusion is that he has a chance against Brock Lesnar because Brock Lesnar and Lashley are of similar builds. Now, the problem with this, of course, is that Lashley deserves so much more than this. Lashley is a legit MMA fighter, and he looks like $1 million. The fact that they brought in Lashley, when they brought him back to WWE, and they gave him like a stalling suplex finisher, and they had him feud with Sami Zayn, the worst wrestler of all time. Like, I'm not even joking, the worst wrestler of all time, right? It's asinine. The only way that Lashley should have been booked is like this. He comes in, fights Brock Lesnar. Then I don't give a rat's ass what he does. Hopefully he beats Brock Lesnar, but that's like a dream match, you know? Like, I really hope that there's like light at the end of the tunnel for Lashley. I really hope that maybe next year he wins the the Royal Rumble or something, you know? Like, Lashley deserves it, man. Lashley is legit, and he's a good wrestler. Like, he's a guy that can pick people up, and he still does like one of those lifting, like, you know, reverse STOs. So I dig Lashley. I did not like this at all, you know? Ricochet makes me sick. I fucking hate Ricochet. Next, we had a pretty good segment. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was good and bad. I'm not going to sit here and say it was perfect, but it was good and bad. Randy Orton comes out to explain himself. He starts saying that, you know, I did it because, then Matt Hardy interrupts. Matt Hardy pretty much interrupts and says, I want to know too, Randy. And instead of letting Randy Orton talk, Matt Hardy comes in and gives like a history lesson. You know, the history lesson includes the fact that Matt Hardy is the original cuckold after Lita cheated on him in real life with Edge, motherfucks. Now, he mentions this kind of, and the fans, because they're cringe beards, they start chanting, Lita, Lita. This is like the worst kind of chant you can do, right? Because all that chant does is just pretty much, it's like a brag. It's like, oh, I know what he's talking about. I watched back then. Right? That's what it says. It's so fucking stupid, right? It's like one time when I was at the Royal Rumble in Philadelphia. I drove to Philadelphia up in this bitch. I saw the Royal Rumble, and it was the year that I had the first ever female Royal Rumble. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. And all these women would come out. Like Michelle McCool came out, you know, and people were like, Undertaker. Beth Phoenix came out. They're like, Edge, Edge. And I'm just like, and I mean, I won't sit here and say that the chants were started by these four neckbeards that were near me, but they really, either they started it or they jumped on it real quick. And these were just your typical neckbeards, right? And basically all they're saying is this: I know who you're married to. I'm a good fan. I Googled Michelle McCool and realized that she's married to Mark the Undertaker Calloway. That's the same exact thing, man. It's so cringy. It's just like first of all, you know, I'm not going to sit here and like, you know, go too far or anything like that, but the realities are what they are, right? It's like, especially in the historic first ever women's Royal Rumble, no matter how you play it out, that is a historic moment, right? Especially if they continue this. So, like, with that in mind, to pretty much trivialize the women's Royal Rumble as just the wives of other wrestlers doing things is ridiculous, you know? It's not right, motherfucks. It ain't right. So that's what I have to say about that. You know, this whole Lita thing was really dumb. Then Matt Hardy starts talking about No Mercy 1999, where he, Jeff, and Edge and Christian revolutionized a ladder match. The fans start chanting TLC. Now, this shows how stupid the neckbeard demographic is. That wasn't a TLC match, motherfucks. That was the Terry Runnels Invitational. I remember that because I was like, oh shit, one of these two jobber teams is going to win something of relative importance. Yeah. So, and then after that, they had the ladder match, the triangle ladder match with the Dudley Boys, which retroactively is like TLC 1 technically, right? Because it was a TLC match basically. Then they had TLC 1, which was like at the next Mania. So Matt Hardy says they also made the TLC match. Then he keeps talking and pretty much says that like once Edge retired out of injury, that he felt bad and he like let go of the hate. I'm just thinking to myself, all right, motherfucker. All right, we get it. You like Edge again, right? And Randy Orton has this look on his face. This is the part that I liked. The Matt Hardy part was bullshit. But the way Randy Orton was reacting was typical, classic, vintage Orton, motherfucks, right? He had this like look of indifference on his face that I really think is exactly what he feels in real life. This is why Randy Orton is, like, in my opinion, one of the best heels ever. Because like my favorite Randy Orton, other than the one now, now it's like my second favorite. My favorite was when he was feuding with Triple H and he like kissed Stephanie in front of him and then beat Triple H with a hammer. It just felt very effective. It felt very vile and it just felt very real. For some reason, I can see Randy Orton being this kind of piece of shit human being, you know what I mean? And I loved every second of it, right? Same thing here, right? Basically, Randy Orton just tolerates Matt Hardy talking for about 20 minutes and then he tries to go for an RKO. Hardy pushes him away, starts beating his ass. Eventually, Rowan pushes Hardy away, hits an RKO, gets the chairs, concerto, and Matt Hardy gets booed out of the building. I loved every second of it once they started fighting. Now, let's get to it. Hopefully, not hopefully, I guess, right? I don't want Matt Hardy's career to end in WWE, but I feel like if he is going to AEW, which I still don't think he is, right? This would be a good way to just write him off, right? Because at some point, Matt Hardy was like, I would hate for my career to end before I'm ready. And this would be a good way to just kind of like be like, oh yeah, his career is over now. And then he can go to AEW and be a jobber there. Who gives a rest? Oh, the Exalted One. And I saw one of the Matt Hardy's videos that he posted today, where it's like, on the Matt Hardy brand YouTube channel, and he was like, I'm exhausted. And then he's like, I'm exhausted, right? Haha, tee-hee, motherfucks. The Exalted One's gonna be Christopher Daniels. Just wait and see, motherfucks. So anyways, next up we got Alistair Black versus Tozawa, and honestly, this is the who gives a rat's ass match of the week, because at the very least, the Ricochet Lashley one, like there was a purpose to it, like it means very little, but it means something. This match means nothing. Now I'm gonna make a guess here. Afterwards, Alistair Black cut a typical Alistair Black, I'm gonna get you promo, right? And halfway through the promo, the lights became weird, and he sat down cross-legged like he does sometimes, and he said that I feel like I'm an animal in a cage. Boom, keywords, motherfucks. I'm assuming that this means he's going to have a feud with the other undefeated jobber, Rowan, right? And this feud will lead to unveiling what is in Rowan's cage. Who gives a rat's ass? Perfectly named after this week's Who Gives a Rat's Ass Match of the Week, Mother Cucks, all right? Then we had Becky Lynch coming back. Now, this is when I wanted to really throw up all over my TV, all right? So when Becky Lynch left, I missed this kind of because I was skipping around, but she took an ambulance. I mean, I saw her take the ambulance, but apparently what she said was she's going to go to the hospital by herself in the ambulance and then get some care. So she did this because she had like a thing on her neck where Shayna bit her, I guess. She drives the ambulance back. Now, this was supposed to be some sort of like, like stone cold moment, right? Where she's like, oh, I'm badass. But she just came back and pretty much said, Shayna, I'm coming for you. Yeah, great. This couldn't wait till next week. I can tell you right now, it could wait till next week because I guarantee you she's going to say it again next week, motherfucks. So at this point, I'm hoping Shayna Baszler comes out again. That would be a nice little thing, She comes out, beats her ass again, saying, yo, I'm not tolerating this kind of nonsense from you, right? So that was a complete waste of time. And I'm going to say a little bit more about this, but before that, the main event was Seth and Friends versus Team Fat. The match ended when Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins were the only ones left, but Buddy Murphy apparently was a legal man. Murphy jumps off the turnbuckle to like attack Joe. Joe dodges, puts the Coquina clutch on Murphy, who is a legal man. Murphy starts tapping out. Referee's being distracted though. So Rollins hits a curb stomp on Joe while Joe's kind of on top of Murphy in the Coquina clutch. Murphy pins Joe. The end of this match. Now, before I get to the meat and bones of what I want to say, how much longer are we going to have to tolerate this Seth Rollins group versus this new group of Samoa Joe, Team Fat, as I call them, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Eric, and Ivar? Now, how much longer are we going to have to sit through this? What is the conclusion? When is it going to end? What has to happen? How many times does Seth Rollins and friends have to come on top? They beat, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy beat the Viking Raiders. Seth Rollins eliminated, and friends eliminated Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens from the Royal Rumble. Then last week in the 3-on-3 elimination match, Razor pinned pinned Kevin Owens, and eventually somehow, one way or another, motherfucks, the Viking Raiders were also eliminated. And then this week they win again. So what is the point of this? At a certain point, I think it would be justified for Seth Rollins to go to creative and be like, yo, wait a second, man, or whoever, go to Vince McMahon and be like, yo, your employees, Kevin Owens, your fat employees, keep attacking me every week. How many times do I have to beat these guys in order for me to move on to something more meaningful? Realistically, even in kayfabe, right? There comes a point where it's like, dude, enough is enough. I've been beating your ass for 3 months now. Yeah, and how much, they haven't gotten the upper hand on Rollins once, and for some reason they still want to fight him. Why? He whooped your ass. Get over it. Just move on, man. It's all part of this, I want to create change thing, because it's the same exact thing. Seth Rollins, when he turned heel and he was talking shit about the Raw locker room, Kevin Owens decided to, quote unquote, step up for the Raw locker room, right? And he attacked Seth Rollins. And I'm thinking to myself, So, like, fucking Kevin Owens was part of Team NXT the night before. So who is this guy now to set up for the Raw locker room? Furthermore, all right, fine. You stood up for them. You went after Seth Rollins. You failed miserably, right? You didn't bring about change. Once again, you failed at bringing about change. So why should I care at least, right? Fine, Seth Rollins may want to fight you every week, but why the fuck would I care as a fan, right? And I think I speak for nearly every person out there who doesn't give a shit about this, who doesn't care at all about this. Now, before I depart from you motherfucks, I gotta say a couple of things about Becky Lynch, because I've had it up to here, motherfucks, with Becky Lynch for a couple of reasons. Number one, she sucks. Objectively, she's just garbage, right? One. Two, I don't like her attitude. You know, she comes out puffing her shoulders and chest as you'd think this girl was like Brock Lesnar combined with The Rock, combined with Stone Cold with a little bit of Hulk Hogan mixed in there. When in fact, she's just a jobber. You know, she just sucks. Like in the Attitude Era, she'd be jobbing to Ivory and Molly Holly, and all of a sudden now she's like this big star. She's like one of the number one stars in all of WWE. Now, with that in mind, you know, I have no qualms about her being booked strong. Hey, book whoever you want, however you want, you know. I ain't the one making decisions. I'm not going to be a smart beard and say, oh, AEW will treat Matt Hardy better than he... How? Why? Like, what do you think means more to Matt Hardy? A couple of zeros in his paycheck? Or fucking being able to beat, I don't know, Jack Evans of Hybrid 2? Or Phoenix? Who the fuck cares, man? Why the... You think Matt Hardy is like that insecure to where he's like, oh, I need to go to AEW because they'll use me correctly. They'll put me in a tag team with Cody. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be part of some segment where I get 10 lashes. That'll really turn the fans on. Get the fuck out of here. So I have no problem with the way Becky Lynch is being booked. Except for this, motherfucker. Except for this. Here's the asterisk, the cherry on top of the sundae. When John Cena gets booked this way, all the neckbeards and everyone get pissed off, right? The fans start booing him. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks, right? For some reason, this doesn't happen with Becky Lynch. I have a feeling I know why. And the reason why is because John Cena actually is objectively cool. I know a lot of people don't want to admit it, but Cena is a cool dude. There's a lot to admire about this guy. I heard recently, motherfucks, that he's been like, I think he's taken off, like, I saw some interview where he said, like, he's only, like, the most he's ever taken off are 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row, man. Beyond that, he's just been busting his ass for, like, 30 years. You understand what I'm saying? This guy's been going to the gym, like, every day since he was, like, 15. You know what I mean? He does all this stuff for charity. He's out there making a career for himself. He had a rap album. He's living our dreams, motherfucks. A lot of people would love to be John Cena. And with that comes a little bit of resentment. You know, when you're like, oh, this guy who would win in real life because he just keeps winning at everything he does, you know? His album, even though I'm not saying the album was good, I didn't even hear it, but his album went platinum. It doesn't matter how. It went platinum, motherfucks. He's a 16-time world champ. And now he is the next big thing in Hollywood. Let's be real, motherfucks. Let's be real. He's going to have a rock-like career in Hollywood. And in my opinion, he's going to surpass that. That's right, Cuts. You heard it here first. Now, when John Cena wins, people start booing. And that's fine, too. If you don't like it, for whatever reason, maybe jealousy, who knows, right? Go ahead, boo him. But keep consistent. This Becky Lynch is just female John Cena. She is the exact same character. The same way that Daniel Bryan, during his GOAT years, right, was the same exact character. He was this guy that would get his ass whooped during the match and then make a miraculous comeback and win a lot, right? Becky Lynch has been champion nearly a year now, motherfucks, and she will obviously have it until WrestleMania. So she will be champion for a full year, it looks like, right? And nobody boos her. Like, what has she done? You know, she really, this broad, actually, this skirt actually thinks that she's out there, right? Like revolutionizing something. You know what I'm saying? She's just not doing any of that. You know what I'm saying? She's just there being John Cena, being Conor McGregor. She's like, oh, like I had to reinvent myself. I put myself over on Twitter. You weren't the first, sweetheart. You weren't the first, skirt. And I don't say skirt in a demeaning way. Like, you know, I'm actually somewhat of a fan of good women's wrestling. You know, I actually do like to see. But here's the problem, right? I do like to see equality. You know, I think most people want equality and want to see it. We just don't want it shoved down our throats, right? So it's the same exact thing. You know, if you're gonna make someone a champion for any reason other than he or she is the best at what they do, you know, or there's a bigger plan, you know, then I don't like it. And Becky Lynch, not so far as she's not the best woman on the roster, she very well might be, right? It's just that, like, the fact that she closed WrestleMania is ridiculous because it's just an SJW push. So when I say things like broad and skirt out of there for comedic effect, I'm doing that to highlight my frustration and kind of be an anti-hero in this bullshit movement that has been thrusted upon us like a hard dick. You know what I'm saying? Let's call it like it is, motherfuckers. You keep pushing Becky Lynch, right? You call her the man, right? And once in a while, we need to remember that she is a skirt, a woman, motherfuckers, and she should kind of behave as one once in a while. And I'm not saying that in terms of her character, but she should behave, in a more, I don't want to say a ladylike fashion or anything like that, but she should behave in a way that is consistent with how female wrestlers behave generally, right? Not this whole, like, I'm just female John Cena, but even that is being bridged because she calls herself the man. She acts like a dude. She acts very masculine. It's very weird. I know there's a lot of people out there that apparently like this. There's people out there that watch those, like, movies where Scarlett Johansson has, like, short hair and is beating up like 30 dudes. I know that there's a demographic of weirdos out there, right? But the majority of us, and people will chalk this up to, misogyny, you're a misogynist. Not at all, motherfuckers. It's because I love women. And what I enjoy about women is their femininity. Just like women, what they enjoy about men is their masculinity, right? And now, we have Becky Lynch being the man, throwing John Cena out of the ring, beating everyone left and right? And nobody even boos her. Nobody, like I'm sure people are tired of her, but nobody has the satchel to say that this sucks. I mean, when I say nobody, I mean in the mainstream. Obviously, people like me, J-Rants, the few smart ones out there, we understand that she sucks, and obviously all of you understand that she sucks too, I'm sure. But what I'm trying to get at is this, that she is the exact same thing as John Cena, but for some reason, when John Cena does something, right? When John Cena wins, it's like, oh, LOL, Cena wins again. Oh, LOL, Roman wins. Yeah, of course Roman wins. Have you seen Roman Reigns? I mean, he probably should lose about 8 pounds, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, he looks like a star. He looks like someone that would beat your ass. He looks like a serious dude, and he puts in work. I mean, he has, like, long matches, even when he doesn't need to. You know what I mean? Whereas Becky Lynch, her matches are botch-filled, right? She's blissfully unaware that the fact that she's in the position she's in has very little to do with her and a lot to do with a cultural shift that WWE is going through, which, in my opinion, might explain why their last fiscal quarter was kind of a disaster, motherfuckers. It was kind of a disaster because you keep putting out this bullshit programming, people like Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins and fucking Kevin Owens, and, like, so then when people like Edge come back, you're like, holy shit, Edge is back, wow, right? Like, nobody really, I mean, people liked Edge, but nobody was out there, oh, Edge should win the Royal Rumble every year. No, but now people are like, oh, man, like, Edge, a real star is here, Like, Matt Hardy comes back, you're like, well, okay, I see why Matt Hardy he's good on the mic. Randy Orton, obviously great. Even MVP, motherfucks, MVP comes out there, and I couldn't help but think, I'm like, oh, man, MVP is, like, really good on the mic. He should be a manager, he's better on the mic than, like, virtually everyone on the roster, you know what I mean? Like, someone like Finn Balor could benefit with having MVP with him since Finn Balor is a jobber, you know what I mean? So it's these things that make wrestling good, right? It's not when people think to themselves, all right, this is stupid, right? There's a reason why women's wrestling was, like, in the undercard for the entirety of the history of wrestling. And that reason, contrary to what they would have you believe, is not sexism or anything like that. It's just the fact that because women's wrestling is an unattractive goal for most women that will be capable of doing it, the sampling, the pool of women that want to be wrestlers is very, very low, right? It's very, very low. The majority of them are people like Mandy, right? Mandy Rose, right? Or Trish Stratus. People that wanted to use wrestling as a stepping stone, right? To become greater models, great like Lana, right? Like people like that want to use wrestling in order to advance their other aspirational goals, right? Now, that's shifted a little bit. Now we have people like Bayley and Sasha Banks who apparently, and AJ Lee, who apparently always wanted to be wrestlers. Good for them, motherfucks. However, it's going to take a few generations to get a mix of both women that want to be wrestlers and women that are good enough athletes to do it, right? That's, in my opinion, aside from obvious differences between men and women, but that shouldn't exist in wrestling because it's fake, right? In my opinion, the reason why female wrestling is inferior to male wrestling is because men have had multiple generations, right? To grow up and idolize wrestlers, right? So when Edge was watching Hulk Hogan and he's like, man, I want to be Hulk Hogan, right? Girls were not watching like Sunny or where the fuck, or Baby Doll being like, I want to be Baby Doll. They were watching like, I don't know, like Mariah Carey being like, I want to be Mariah Carey, right? And that's why it's harder to be Mariah Carey than it is to be Sarah Logan. Do you understand what I'm getting at, motherfuckers? It's the same difference between UFC and boxing, right? UFC athletes, obviously, they're great athletes, right? But because UFC is a relatively new sport, right? The sampling pool of people that want to be UFC fighters is significantly lower than people that want to be basketball players, boxers, or football players, right? That's why someone like LeBron, like if you took someone like LeBron with his raw athleticism, or someone like JJ Watt, or like Luke Kuechly, or someone like that, these monsters of humans, right? And even John Cena, if you took these people and you're like, yo, man, we're going to train you to be a UFC fighter, or Kurt Angle, right? We're going to train you to be a UFC fighter. You know, like forget basketball, LeBron. That's no longer an option, motherfucker. We're taking you, just like they took Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, and we're going to craft you into a fighting machine. LeBron James would have been a UFC champion. Because his sheer athleticism is superior to that of the greatest UFC athlete imaginable. Same thing with JJ Watt, same thing with Luke Kuechly and other people like that. But the reason why these people didn't go to the UFC is because they're like, oh, there's way more money in football and basketball. I think I'll focus on that, motherfucks. I think I'll focus on the sport that's going to make me a multi-millionaire by age 25 versus being a UFC fighter and then try to make like 50 grand a fight. You know what I'm saying? It's the same exact thing with women's wrestling, right? People like Becky Lynch, the girls that grew up watching like Trish Stratus and, Lita and things like that, like that's the first generation of girls that were like, you know what? I really want to do this. This is my first choice. This is what I want to do. You know what I mean? That's like the first generation, right? Whereas for men, this has been going on forever. So like there have been a few men, right? So take someone like Dolph Ziggler, for example, right? There's no woman in wrestling that's as athletic as Dolph Ziggler. And I don't just mean performance-wise. I mean like God-given athletic ability, right? And hard work. They don't do that because for a long time, what's sold is attractive women. So they're like, all right, I want to be like a supermodel. I'm going to be an attractive girl, go to wrestling, right? Where, I don't have to be as attractive, right? To break into wrestling, right? Then from that, I'm going to get like the Playboy covers, right? China was on Playboy, motherfucks. You think China would ever be on Playboy if she wasn't in WWE? No, motherfucks. No. Even someone like Maria Kanellis, who is obviously an attractive woman, she would not be on Playboy if it weren't for the fact that she was in WWE, right? You use that to boost yourself, right? To get to the next level, motherfucks. Christy Hemme, all these broads, right? But now we're dealing with people like Bayley and Sasha Banks, who obviously, I joke around, but obviously they're like relatively attractive girls, right? And they're like, all right, I also want to be a wrestler. And then next generation, maybe we'll have some actually good ones. You know what I mean? Some actual good wrestlers, right? If you're growing up and you're idolizing, I don't know, fucking who's a shitty female wrestler that was famous, Sunny, right? If you're idolizing Sunny and you're imitating what Sunny's doing, you're not imitating her in-ring ethic, or Sable. You're not imitating her in-ring ethic. You're trying to look like her. You're trying to have the same demeanor as her, right? Because that's what got her signed, that's what got her over, and that's what got her to places. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas if you are Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're like, man, I want to be the best bodybuilder ever. Look at these other people before me, right? What do I have to do? I have to lift, and let's face it, I gotta do steroids, motherfuckers. And then he becomes Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the idea, right? That's what I'm trying to get at here. So before anyone hears, oh, you're a misogynist. No, motherfuckers. No, I'm not. I'm just saying, as usual, I'm saying it like it is. You know what I'm saying? And I have to give props to people like Becky Lynch, who at the end of the day, she made it. You know what I'm saying? She made it. Good for her. But a little humility goes a long way. And in order for people like Becky Lynch to understand that they're not here because they're better, like Becky Lynch in her head thinks she's a better wrestler than Cedric Alexander or Tozawa or Tony Nese, right? In her head, she thinks she's a better wrestler, right? And a better entertainer. She's none of those things, motherfuckers. Becky Lynch is not a better entertainer than R-Truth. That's ridiculous, right? But because she's a woman and because like they really want to push this agenda, she is what she is, right? And this humility would be easy to find if fans were fair, if fans were not brainwashed, if fans once in a while said, boo, you suck, right? But I've noticed that for female wrestlers, right, almost always, the reaction they want them to get is the one they get, right? Whereas, like, if you take someone like, I don't know, Kevin Owens or Samoa Joe, they might be heels, but they get cheered, right? Women always get the reaction they want. And that's a problem, because then there's no way for the fans to vet them and be like, yo, this is kind of bullshit. Yeah? And that's all I'm saying, motherfuckers. If you want real equality, right? If you want real equality, you got to treat people equally. And once again, I stand for equality, and that's why I'm saying people should start saying Becky Lynch sucks. That's the problem, right? People didn't like Cena, they booed him. People didn't like Orton, they booed him. People didn't like The Rock at some point, they booed him, right? People don't like Becky Lynch, they cheer her. And now we're going to have to see her once again at WrestleMania, wasting her time. Let's be honest, right? Nobody gives a shit about her and Shayna Baszler. You know what I mean? The only thing that people should care about is Orton, Edge, and Brock versus Drew McIntyre. So with that being said, motherfucks, keep it fair, keep it dirty as well, and don't show favoritism to people because of identity. Do not do that. If someone either sucks or is awesome, it doesn't matter if they're black, white, woman, man, transgender even, Like, I'm starting to like Nyla Rose, a little bit. In the sense that, like, she's being booked the way that I would prefer Awesome Kong to be booked, right? She's actually being booked as a dominant person, Now, who she is as a person, couldn't give a rat's ass. I only care about the characters, right? But if you suck, hey, believe me, if I thought Nyla Rose sucked, I would not hold my tongue in because she's transgender. Oh, if I say she sucks, people might think I'm a transphobe. No, motherfuckers. If she sucks, I'm going to say she sucks. And my reasoning will not be because she's transgender. It will be because she fucking sucks, motherfuckers. So that's what I got to say about Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch fucking sucks. All right. Take care of yourself, cocks.